I went from living in a tiny bedsit taking the bus to work to living in a luxury city centre apartment driving my dream car within 6 months. In this video, I'm going to share the one thing that I started doing every day that completely changed my life. But not only that, I'm going to break it down into 3 easy steps that anyone can easily follow to do exactly what I did. But first, let me take you back to when I first figured this out. When I was in my early 20s, I was running a business that was really struggling. I'd put all my savings into opening up my first shop, but after a successful first year, the economy tanked and the credit crunch hit. I was stuck with mountains of stock, but hardly any customers. I was losing money hand over fist, and I had no idea how I was going to get back to making a profit again. I had about 6 months left before all the money I had left completely ran out. If that happened and I wasn't able to pay the rent on the shop, the business would go bankrupt and I would lose everything. I was in a race against time and I knew it. It was around this time that a friend of mine who'd been running several successful businesses for years gave me 3 books and told me the answer to all my problems was inside them. At this point, I was willing to try anything, and in just over a week, I'd read all 3 books. I realised there was one idea that kept coming up over and over again. I started to put this idea into practice, and within a couple of weeks, things started to turn around. I made some changes in the shop, negotiated a better deal with my suppliers, and before long, I started making a profit again. But not only did the business start to improve, I continued using this idea every day, and within a year I'd expanded the business and even opened up another 2 shops. So what was the secret? What was this one idea that turned my fortunes around so easily and in such a short space of time? Well, one of the books explained it like this: the human mind is like the autopilot of an aircraft or the navigation system of a guided missile. First, you input the final destination or the target. Then you launch the aircraft or missile in the direction of the target. The computer system then makes hundreds of tiny adjustments every time it goes off track until finally it reaches its destination. So let's fast forward a few years. I'd started running another business with some friends. We were promoting and DJing around some of the largest clubs in the UK and running a small independent record label. We were doing okay, making a decent living, but then history repeated itself. We lost our largest contract with a major Manchester club, and then one of the other main clubs that we promoted for closed down. My partners all decided to leave and go back to their old jobs. And this is where I ended up living in a tiny bedsit, and I even had to sell my car because I could barely afford to run it. As I was sitting one day alone and miserable in my crummy bedsit, I thought back to the book that I'd read all those years ago and the ideas that I'd used to completely turn my fortunes around. The next day I went out and I bought a diary and I wrote in it all the goals that I wanted to achieve within the next 3 months to the next 5 years. Every night before I went to bed, I wrote the goals out again, and as I went to sleep, I imagined myself in the future as if I'd already achieved them. I did this every day because I knew from past experience that consistency was key. Slowly but surely, things started to change and opportunities started to present themselves to me. Within a few weeks, I started applying for jobs. It didn't take me long to get offered a role with a salary far higher than I'd been earning from the business, and also a top-of-the-range company car. It just so happened that the car was the exact same one that I'd been writing down in my goals and imagining driving every night before I went to sleep. I continued every day writing out my goals and thinking about them before I went to sleep. After 6 months, my income was still increasing as I was making more and more in commission every month. One of my goals was to live in an apartment in one of the most desired buildings in the city centre. Before long, an opportunity to move into one of these apartments came up and I took it. I'd achieved 2 of my biggest goals all within the first 6 months, and all because of the idea that I'd read in those books all those years earlier. So how does this work, and how can anyone use this to make changes in their own lives? Well, the books all explain the answers to these questions in different ways, but I boil it down to 3 key steps. Number 1, set your target. Remember the guided missile I spoke about earlier? Well, without setting a clear target, it's not going to get anywhere, and that's always the first step in the process. Decide the goal you want to achieve, make sure it's possible, and write it down. Now once you have the target, it needs to become a daily focus. That brings us to step 2, focus on the target. The human mind really is an amazing thing. When you have a clear vision of something you want to achieve and you focus on it regularly, the subconscious mind starts working on it all of the time in the background, even when you're not consciously thinking about it and even when you're asleep. Once you start to do this, you'll notice that ideas just seem to come from nowhere and the answer to problems just seem to pop into your head when you least expect it. The way I do this is to write the goal out every day and then visualize it as if I'd already achieved it. The best time to do this is when you're really relaxed, so I find that right before bed or after a workout at the gym when I'm relaxing in the sauna or jacuzzi is the best time for me. And that brings us on to the final and in my opinion the most important step. Number 3, just start moving. Just like our missile, if we don't start moving in the right direction, nothing will happen. So as soon as you have your goal in mind, even if you don't have a complete plan of exactly how you're going to achieve it, just take the first step. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving down a country road in the dark. It's pitch black and all you can see is the small part of the road in front that the headlights are lighting up. You just have to trust that you're on the right road and that the headlights will keep lighting up the next part of the journey as you move forward. If you see road signs on the journey telling you to change directions, you follow them. And then you just keep on following the next small part of the journey until you reach your destination. And it really is as simple as that. Set your goals, keep them in mind every day, and take action. I hope you can take these ideas and use them in your own life to make your own dreams a reality. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to hear more of these types of ideas and stories, please check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching.